My name is Ailish Wasserman, and I am Schaefer Leadership's Program Manager. Today, we are talking with one of our favorite facilitators, Erika Petrelli. Our mission at Schaefer is to provide inclusive leadership development so that people, organizations, and communities reach their full potential. So let's meet Erika. Erika, tell me about yourself and what is your mission and your why? Why do you do what you do?
Great. Thank you so much, Ailish. I'm so happy to be talking to you today. And so about me is I've been in leadership development and people development for honestly the better part of 30 years. I got my master's in secondary education, originally thinking I would be a high school English and drama teacher. That was the original goal. And it didn't take me too long to realize that being a classroom teacher wasn't exactly the right fit for me, but I loved education and professional development, as it turned out, was the sweet spot in my professional journey, and really getting the opportunity to work with individuals, educators, students, corporations, basically any human beings on this topic of leadership development over the years really became my passion point and the central kind of why of what I do. We at the organization that I work for, the leadership program, many years ago, did an exercise that was based on Daniel Pink, who's written a few fantastic books, A Whole New Mind, and Drive, which is about motivation. And he's great in his books at giving you kind of prompts or exercises. And one of the stories he told and exercises he gives is this idea of all of us should be able to kind of pare our mission and our purpose in life down to one sentence. So the question he asked is, what's your sentence? Which is really what you're asking when you say, what's your why, And after many drafts and many iterations, my sentence became that I want to be the runway for others to take flight. So whenever I'm thinking about projects I want to do, partnerships I want to develop, new organizations I want to kind of sidle up next to, work that I want to take on, I really use that as my compass. Does it give me the opportunity to be a runway for somebody else to take flight? And if the answer is yes, I'm all in. So that's kind of a short version of my why and my mission.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Erika. I love that imagery of a runway. So I think, many other people would connect with that. So in January, you had facilitated for us a session called Breaking Down the Big Stuff. And what do you think was the most enlightening or really helpful for participants who attended that session?
Well, that in particular, that topic is such a great one for me. Every time I have the conversation, it's also a reminder. I'm both the teacher and the student. And the idea, the main central concept behind breaking down the big stuff came from author Anne Lamott, has a book called Bird by Bird. And it's a fantastic book, but the title comes from an even better story that she tells. And the story that she tells with Bird by Bird is that when she was growing up, many, many moons ago, she remembers vividly her brother, maybe he's 11 years old, right? On a Sunday night, suddenly remembering that he has due the very next day, a project where he has to chronicle all the birds of North America. And he's completely forgotten that he has to do this project. So understandably, he's freaking out. And she remembers her dad sitting next to him and saying, just take it bird by bird, buddy. And for me, that image of taking it bird by bird has essentially become a mantra for my life. And that's what breaking down the big stuff is, because that happens to all of us, right? We look at the week ahead and we become completely overwhelmed. Sometimes we look at the day ahead and we become completely overwhelmed. We look at the mess in our household and we become completely overwhelmed. Usually our overwhelm comes when we're looking at all of it and we say, I don't even know where to start, or there's no possible way I can get this done. The finish line feels so far away. And in those moments, to just say, just take it bird by bird, just do the next thing. And then the thing after that. take it one bird at a time, and eventually you'll have chronicled all the birds of North America. So for me, that's the central takeaway from that workshop. And such a great reminder for all of us that when we're feeling overwhelmed, to just take a breath and say bird by bird, and then tackle whatever's the very next thing, or just one thing on our list.
Absolutely. I love that, because just doing that one thing is going to take us to the next thing instead of being, as you said, overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was your January session, but on March 7th, you will facilitate a lunch and learn called Flexibility and Leadership. Tell us more about what participants can take away from that.
This one's really important because for a lot of us, when we think about flexibility, we think of it as in a very black and white way, meaning I'm flexible or I'm not, or this person is flexible or they're not. It's either a have it or you don't sort of mindset that a lot of us fall into, when in fact, a lot of studies have shown that there's different types of flexibility. The Center for Creative Leadership has a great set of articles and graphics that break down flexibility in 3 different bucket areas. Cognitive flexibility, which is really being flexible in our perspective and being able to change our mind and look at things from a different perspective, which is so helpful for so many of us when we get stuck in the workplace. Sometimes when we get stuck in the workplace, it's because we're stuck in our mindset. So cognitive flexibility is really expanding our ability to see things from a different perspective. The second major bucket area is emotional flexibility, which is really being able to be flexible based on emotions that arise within us or within our team, really actually paying attention to the emotions that are present in the room, and flexing our plan based on the emotional state of the room, so to speak. And then the last one is dispositional flexibility, which is really about your kind of future forecasting. So dispositional flexibility is this idea of being optimistic yet realistic. So I'm flexible in adjusting my plans because I believe that there is a way forward. So even if my original plan has gone out the window or I've encountered unexpected obstacles, my dispositional flexibility says we're going to find a way forward. So I think it's really fascinating to look at flexibility in that way, because it gives us a lot more space to look at the specific ways where we ourselves might get stuck and become inflexible, which may be different in different situations. So that's a sneak peek about what we're going to dig into in March.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I especially liked what you said about dispositional flexibility. And, truly flexibility has become such an important word for, the 21st century and really where we are right now, kind of post-pandemic. So,
well, and it's interesting too. I also, because of the pandemic, it's been sort of the word, right? But I was also reading recently that it's interesting to look at the difference between adaptability and flexibility. So adaptability is I can change, and all of us have had to do that in some form or fashion over the last 3 years. Flexibility requires a willingness to do so. So the more flexible I am in some degree, it relies on how willingness I am to change. So, all of us can change, but we could do it very grumpily and grumbly. And that doesn't make things necessarily pleasant for our coworkers.
Right.
But if we really work on flexibility and leadership, we're working on our willingness and our genuine flexible approach. So you're right. It's absolutely timely because we've all kind of been forced into being flexible, but how willing have we been to do so is an important point to think about.
Yeah, that willingness, absolutely. And that can be different based on the individual. So, awesome. So my last question for you, Erika, is, we've talked about our mission at Schaefer already, and we really love really guiding individuals to reach that potential, their full potential. So what is one piece of advice that you have for individuals about striving towards their potential and being their best selves?
I love that question so much. So I always talk about this kind of being our best self is stepping into our unique leadership. Because to me, the way I describe leadership is there's 2 different kinds. There's capital L leadership and lowercase l leadership. So capital L leadership is our title. it's a kind of a status symbol that's externally bestowed upon us. I'm the executive director of, I'm the project manager for. So that's a capital L leadership. And I think a lot of times, especially younger people just coming into the workforce, believe that equates potential or leadership. But that is, sometimes we have those titles and sometimes we don't. It has nothing to do with our impact. And our impact is how we show up in any room. And that's our lowercase L leadership. So that's my choice in how I'm going to show up in any room, be myself authentically, and realize that I have the choice to make a positive or a negative impact in just about any room I'm in. And that's the kind of leadership that's really fun to dig into. So what I say is, don't wait for the capital L leadership title. Today, start thinking about your lowercase L leadership impact, because that's where legacy leadership, that's the most memorable kind of leadership that any of us can offer in the world.
That is a wonderful point to end on there, and really relates back to connecting that small L to your why.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Erika, for being here with us today to talk about your why and the insights that you have to share with us. We look forward to seeing you at your next session, Flexibility and Leadership, on March 7th, 11:30 to 1 at the Innovation Connector here in Muncie. You can register on our website, which is linked here. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.